Hey, welcome to the Razzle Dazzle Show, a podcast where we make connections through the lens of video games and all things pop culture. I'm your host, Jared, and we're welcoming back voice actor Josh Portillo. Since his last appearance, Josh has continued building his career in the ever-evolving world of remote voice acting, lending his voice to anime, games, horror projects, and some of the internet's most chaotic content. But this time, we're going beyond the roles themselves. We're talking about the real side of being a working remote voice actor in today's industry, the pros and cons of remote work, how you continue growing when opportunities feel slow, the mental side of creative careers, and what keeps you pushing forward when things look bleak. Please let us know what you think about this episode somewhere on the internet, and be sure to follow us on our socials and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Links to them are down below. And with all that being said,
it's Razzle Dazzle time!
Hello again, Josh. Thank you so much for coming back on the show. How are you today?
I am doing dandy, Jared. How you doing?
If I was doing any better, I'd have to hire somebody to help me enjoy it. Thank you for asking. So this is a different type of episode than what we usually do here on the show. You're back, and we're not usually when we have a guest back, we're talking about a specific like show or movie or whatever. You know, like we had Isaac Robinson Smith on the show not too long ago, last month actually. You know, we got to interview him. And then the week after, we had him back on the show to talk about X-Men, the animated series, because he's, you know, Bishop in 97. Yep. So, like, you know, whatever. It matches, whatever. But this one, for you, you wanted to come back on the show, not just talk about a specific show or movie or whatever. We're here to talk about the craft of voice acting, and more specifically, remote voice acting, right?
Yep. Yes, sir.
Interesting. So this is something that obviously I am very, very interested in, and most people who listen and who follow you are also interested in. So I guess the goal here is to just learn more about the nitty-gritty of, one, how to get into the space, and also just how to, I guess, survive?
Yes. That is the biggest one, Jared.
Okay.
Because the first few steps, well, let's just say they can be 10 steps. They can be 5 steps. However fast you're able to get them done, whatever it feels to you. But in my experience, what is the hardest step is the one that goes on forever if you want it to, and that is survivability. That is keeping everything together, keeping the ship going, keeping the machine fed, keeping the machine with oil, you know, filling it up every time, getting some rest, and that's the equivalent of getting some rest, and doing it all over again. And it gets repetitive, especially if you're wanting to go full time. And you have to keep the in the forefront. You have to keep fun as the main objective. And that sounds so simple. That sounds like something you'd hear off of SpongeBob. Was the fun song that you'll hear in kids shows that you think are cheesy, but they have a great weight for all the kids that really need it. Yeah. For our next generation that need to learn, fun is the objective. Fun is what keeps you alive in the field that you're in, because if you can do it every single day for the rest of your life, not even like, I know everybody wants to retire. That's the objective. But if you had to work at this every day of your life, if fun was the objective and that's what you felt mostly throughout the day, then you're doing something right. But it gets hard. It gets difficult. There are times when you will be tired that you've done it for, let's say, 3 hours, 4 hours. And this ain't the fun recordings that I'm talking about. This is the hard recordings to get through. Maybe you're not really an audiobook person, but you found yourself good at audiobooks, and they do pay pretty well if you're able to, you know, say your rate and kind of bargain with the client. You want to find your worth. And you want to know what your worth is, and you got to be honest with yourself and know that you are valuable. I will say that in this interview, everybody's valuable. Everybody's voice has weight. Everybody's voice, it matters, and you're worth more than you think. And at that point, I think it's just sharpening up the acting skills and going from there. I'm all over the place.
But that's so. I want to start with that. Voice acting is acting. Like any other actor you may or may not know, you've seen films and movies about an actor struggling to survive in the streets of New York or LA or whatever. They're doing like 10 jobs at the same time, barely getting enough sleep, trying to do their best, running around to get that one audition done or whatever. It's a lot of work, and voice acting is not that different. I mean, obviously there are the core differences, but the grind that is required is basically the same. If you don't put in the same amount of effort, you ain't gonna go anywhere. What's something about remote voice acting, all that, it sounds great because you're at home, maybe you have your own studio, you're alone, you don't have to like go anywhere, you can just do everything at home if you have the equipment, if you have the right voice direction, whatever. It sounds great on paper, right? It sounds like everything, like almost everybody like our age wants to do that. It's become a big boom as of the last 10 years. But as you've learned, it's actually challenging. So can you explain like what are the challenges, what is the reality of these challenges?
Reality of the challenges, first, and it's just finding your way of auditioning first, and also getting a proper recording space, a space that's quiet, a space that doesn't echo, a space that you can, perform in, have room to, move around, all that stuff. Getting the right equipment, doing your research, and it's harder when you're starting out and you don't have a lot of people who are voice actors around you.
Yeah,
you have to do all the research. You
have to quickly become your own audio engineer. You have to learn how to treat a room properly. You have to know what equipment you got to get so your actual product sounds good to the client. Unlike, I think, camera acting or theater acting, because all you do is submit a slate and it doesn't really matter what kind of microphone you use as long as it sounds okay, right? Like you can use your phone. Actors use their phones to record themselves, their slates and self-tapes.
Yep.
But with voice acting, you can't do that.
Nope. You have to, at first, I think just getting your feet wet. I've heard people start with a Blue Yeti, which is totally fine.
Blue Yeti X. That's what I recommend for starting out, for sure. It's $100.
Yep. Blue Yetis. And you don't have to have an interface with that, so you can just hook it up to your computer, and it's a USB. It's not an XLR. Now, I'm not the best technical guy. I wish I was. I've tried in the past. I can't remember all the doohickeys, all the microphones.
That's why I'm here, Josh.
Yay! See? Yay! But I feel like another, if you want to upgrade from a Blue Yeti and you're like, hey, I want to do this more, I think a good combo, the one that I started out with, now it's a little bit more money, but my friend and I, Ryan and I, we started out with the AT, I think it's AT 2020, and the, what was it?
The Audio Technica cardioid condenser mic?
Yes,
this is
sir.
a great microphone. This is a microphone that's used pretty often within like radio production, like in the radio station I work at, we use these mics.
That's awesome. They're
VO.
great mics.
Yeah.
They are great mics. I love how they sound. I just, because when I decided to go full time, I knew I had to upgrade my mic to in studio quality. So that's what I did. But AT 2020 is a solid mic to really get your feet wet with. And then,
honestly, you're right. Like, this is only a few bucks more than a Blue Yeti.
Yep. And then the because it's an XLR, the interface that we got was a PreSonus interface, which is kind of like the Scarlett.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Those two. PreSonus and Scarlett are two interfaces that people, in my opinion, should look into. There's another one that goes with the Rode NT1. The Rode mics, I have seen people, they've had good experiences. It's the one mic that I see a lot of people start out with when they're becoming professional, that they want to become professional. Sometimes I hear it that it dies out. Sometimes I hear that, it's easy to crack. Like the mic itself, like the talking part. If you bang it, of course, but I don't know. I've heard great receptions of it and not so great receptions of it. But I know for myself that the AT2020 and the PreSonus or Scarlett interfaces, that's a good combo. If you want to say like, hey, I want to become professional and I want to start out. I don't have all the money in the world, but I have some saved up and I think I can do it.
If what I have for an interface, like for XLRs, microphones and stuff, or like I have this IK Multimedia iRig Pro. Ooh. And this converts XLR to USB to plug into your computer, right? So I have a soundboard. I can plug in multiple mics into the soundboard.
Hell yeah.
All XLR. And then the output from the board, I can plug it into the iRig. And it plugs into USB into the computer. And it all works. So
that's
like
great.
And that's like about, it's kind of pricey, honestly. It's like about $100 just for the iRig alone. But, so like that's part of the research, right? You got to weigh the price for the technology, how long you're going to use it for, how dedicated, how much commitment you're going to put into it, right?
Yep.
All these things. It's crazy.
You have to, I would say, man, see, Ryan and I, we jumped into it pretty fast. Now, if you're by yourself and you really want to take your time with seeing if you even like voice acting, because the last thing I would want is for somebody to, and you'll hear this from a lot of voice actors, and they're right, they're correct. They would not want people to try it, invest so much money into it, and they don't like it, and it's just not for them. And they spent over $1,000 on equipment, on demos, which we can get into, which you don't need to get a demo right off the bat. I would highly not recommend to do that. It's just, I wouldn't want you to spend a lot of money on it when you don't even know if you'll like it. If you got to try it out for a while first. At least 4 months, 5 months, half a year. You need to put some time in, some auditions in, to see if you even like it, because it is a grind. It's not all, it's not, I want it to be sunshine and fairy tales, but if you're wanting to get serious in it, it can get very stressful, and you have to manage that stress within it.
Then before we get to like how to get into it, on the flip side, I want to ask, what are some major advantages of working remotely that, you never want to give up?
Absolutely. So remotely, first off, when you work remotely, and let's say, let's go part-time first.
Right.
If you're going part-time, let's say you have a job on the side, and it's a full-time job. It's a full-time job. Let's be realistic, because we all need that. If you're part-time and, you're remote, you can work on your own hours. You can, and that goes for both part-time and full-time. You can edit your own work. You can, no one's telling you what to do, where to go, like at a 9 to 5. You can get in contact with different clients. And this, honestly, now that I'm talking about it, it just coincides with full-time. But when you go full-time, it just ramps up. Just all the work, all the things that you do part-time ramps up to 10, basically. The advantages is, you can do it at home. You're not having to be called into studio. What else? You have a lot of control. You have a lot of just self-sustaining control that you can manage within your own space. Mm-hmm. And especially for individuals that are, they have disabilities, some that I can't speak of, that, because I'm not a medical expert or anything. But if you're bound to staying home a lot and you just want to be creative, being remote can be a chance for you to express yourself, can be a chance to really, get out there, put your voice out there, and show what you got, and actually do what you love, which is acting, or could be anything else. But in my realm, it's just voice acting. There's a lot of other things, but again, it just kind of coincides with also going full time, and I don't want to undervalue that part. So,
right.
Yeah.
So to get into the actual part of becoming a voice actor,
Yes.
obviously a lot of voice actors are asked, like, how does one become one? And there are they say there's a bunch of resources online, which is true. There's iwantobeavoiceactor.com by D. Bradley Baker. There's voiceactor.com. There's the Voice Acting Club by Kira Buckland. Shout outs to her again. How come every time we talk, Kira Buckland gets mentioned? Have you noticed that? That's funny.
Hey, man, because Kira is a big ambassador of the field.
Yeah, she's awesome. Shout outs to her. So there are all these websites with all these resources. Great.
Yep.
Do you feel like there's how do I put this into words? Does it ever feel like overwhelming? Like, oh my God, this is so much information. How do I filter through all this? And how do I actually sift through and find a way to book an actual gig? Like, from this point of knowing all these resources from these websites, from these other companies like QueerVox and Bang Zoom and whatever, to getting a job. Yeah. Like, can you explain any of this,
Absolutely. Now, this is only my point of view.
Right, of course.
I know Kira. I don't know them, but I know that, individuals like Kira, I know all of them would have different viewpoints on this.
Right.
So
everybody has their own journey, so there's no one set way to do it.
Absolutely. That's everything that I say in this interview needs to be taken with a grain of salt, because everybody's experiences could be totally different from what I'm talking about. So there is that. But my experience is, when you have all these resources, it can be overwhelming. It can make you feel like, am I doing it right? Oh gosh, I didn't do it like Kira said. I'm not doing it right. I didn't do it like how Cassandra Lee Morris said it.
Right.
Crap. I didn't do it like J. Michael Tatum told me to when I saw him at a con, that sort of thing. But I think, you take little bits and pieces from everything. Some things are not going to work out. It worked out for them, but it's not going to work out for you maybe. But that one little nugget of information that they did give you, it did work out. And then you find that something that Cassandra told you worked out, or something that J. Michael Tatum told you worked out, or heck, you were able to meet Matt Mercer and something he said actually worked out. It's like you put everything together, all those tips, everything, and you make it your experience. It's a lot of information. And your life is unique to you, and you're working with the type of circumstances and the limitations that only you can handle. So it can be very difficult and it can be discouraging too when you're trying to follow someone else's advice and they have great advice. These are credible sources, right? But it's just not working for you.
How do you put it into practice? Right?
How do you put it into practice?
Take that from all these legends, all that info they're giving you.
Yep.
Okay, how do I use it?
Absolutely. And I feel, and this is going to kind of go into how to start auditioning, how to actually start working. Because I will say this, and it's the best piece of information I've ever read up, because I'm like everybody else. I go onto Instagram and I love looking at reels of actors, of different acting groups, of actors that say good information. I think that's good. That's good scrolling of just seeing different acting profiles, giving you different bits from interviews from actors, actresses, all the sorts, and they just like tell you different stuff. One tip that Bryan Cranston said is, the job is acting. You're not going in there to I forgot what he said. You're going in there to just work. And there was another person that said that as well. I forgot. It was either Jason Statham or Meryl Streep. But one of them said the same thing that Cranston said was, I'm not going in there to just to get the job. The audition is my job.
Right.
I think it was what's his name? Vulture from Spider-Man Homecoming. Batman.
Michael Keaton.
Yeah, Michael Keaton. He said that. He just, he said it in his mind, saying like, oh, you know what? It's like basically he was saying like, if I just stress about booking the job, I'm not going to do a good job. I need to go in there. The audition is the job, and just getting the opportunity is the job, or just again, just auditioning. So
with that point in mind, let me ask this as someone who's not an actor or a voice actor, just someone like an outside perspective. Would that not be considered an interview? Like going for the audition for an on-camera theater actor or whatever, somebody who actually has to physically go to a casting call.
Yep.
Wouldn't that be the audition?
Yep.
I mean, that's what it's called. I mean, that's the interview process of a normal job.
Yep.
Right? Like,
yep.
So how is that also part of a job, in your opinion, voice actor Josh Portillo?
I just think that, both are similar. It's just, you just have to, it's just in different environments.
Gotcha.
You are in your booth. You have to visualize that it's like walking up into that studio in front of 3, 4, in my experience, my first in-studio audition that I traveled out for was 9 people.
Wow.
That was scary. Yeah, man, you learn some stuff while you're doing that. But yeah, when you go into your booth, it's the same process. It's just by yourself, and that's what makes it kind of hard sometimes, because people, maybe they have to get used to using their mind as to visualize. Yeah, this is my studio. It's like mindful. It's mindful awareness that you are in your studio. You have the sides right in front of you. No one's with you, but you are your biggest critic. You are the director right now, because you're directing yourself through these sides that people, that these directors put out onto these websites that you found, and now you are auditioning for them. You have to be almost your own critic, and direct yourself and be super critical of yourself if you're taking it seriously. Now, if you're just having fun, I can't say a lot to that, because or like you're not taking it seriously and you're just feeling it out, then that's what you're doing. You're just feeling it out, and that's totally fine. But let's say you're a little seasoned and you're wanting to take it seriously. That's when I would say, yeah, you need to be critical of yourself. Was this take the same as the second take? Was it same as the third take? Do these need to be verified a little bit? Put some variation in them. Should I put another voice with the second take? Is my acting up to par? Like that sort of thing. And I'm not trying to say get into analysis paralysis, but these are the passive things that you need to train your mind in going into the audition process. When you're starting to work, when you find these websites, when you start to get into these circles where people are sharing casting calls left and right on different discords, you have to, it's like it becomes clockwork at that point. It's like, am I warmed up? Did I do my warm-ups? Did I is my mind ready to adventure through all these emotions? Am I emotionally okay right now to act? That sort of stuff. And am I ready to just get these auditions done? Because at the end of the day, that's all it comes down to. Repetition of doing auditions every day. Well, not every day, but you get my point.
Right. To get to the point where you're actually finding a role to audition for, to submit something for, to get there. No, we live in a world where we live in an age now, in a time now, that the internet is full of stuff, right? So like you can go on Twitter and just scroll within the appropriate channels or whatever, the appropriate sides of Twitter. And you can find a bunch of potentially indie creators looking for voice actors.
Some biggies, dude. Some biggies.
The indie
revolution is here. the indie renaissance is here, and there's
Yeah.
a lot of indie creators. I mean, look at
Glitch?
Look at what Glitch is doing. Look at what Glitch is doing. There's correct me if I'm wrong on this name. There's Knights of Guinevere.
Yeah.
There's the Amazing Digital Circus. There's
The latest Gameoverse.
Gameoverse. There's Murder Drones. There's there's a lot, man. There's
one of our mutual friends, Veraton, is in Amazing Digital Circus. So like that's part of finding that indie route.
Mm-hmm. And it's a different. It's a boom right now, and it's really great. And it I don't know how the process works. But not saying all Glitch shows are like this. Again, I have no experience with that, but I know for the indie animations that I've been a part of,
right,
they have been remote, and they kind of encourage that because it's like we're excited to find new talent. It's a good space, and but
you found these casting calls,
yes,
on social media. Did
yes,
you
social media?
Okay.
Yes. Okay. Yep. Let's get into it. So, Twitter has a lot of casting calls. That's honestly for a few years there. I was getting I found all my casting calls on there.
Wow.
Now that a few years have passed, it's still Twitter. Still a good resource for just casting calls, not news. Instagram, yes, actually, that has grown. People have been posting some casting calls on there too. You just have to keep your eyes open. Sometimes when I look it up in the search bar, it can give me just like random stuff still, even when I put voice acting casting calls. So you have to keep your eyes open and just follow a bunch of devs. And I know that hashtags are kind of a weird spot right now. So it's just, it can be hard, but know that those voiceover casting calls are found on Twitter, on Instagram. I have not had a lot of experience on Blue Sky. I want to, but I would expect that there are some devs on there. Social media as a whole, yes. LinkedIn, definitely. I've heard some people get some good work on LinkedIn, and it's usually people find them. So you have to post there a lot.
Interesting.
Post your work, post your progress, because it's like time and place with LinkedIn.
Demo.
People, yeah, it's different. But in my experience, I found a lot of my auditions early on Twitter, Instagram, and Casting Call Club. That is the kind of the go-to website that people all go to first.
Casting Call Club.
Yes, there are a lot of starting out devs, people who are just trying out stuff. A lot of the projects don't get finished. It's a lot of fan dubs. It can be some biggies actually. There are some biggies that are on there that just happen to be on there, and it's really legit. But it's a good place to get your feet wet. It's a good place to get used to auditioning. Repetition. I remember that was the one thing that Bryce Pappenbrook told me. It's like, you keep auditioning. All these characters that you see on this banner here of mine, that's like a quarter, or not even a quarter, but a sliver of the auditions that I do daily. And I was like, whoa, that's wild. So going on a website like that, Casting Call Club, is to really just get used to auditioning. Maybe you'll book some big stuff on there, you never know, but it's to get used to hearing your voice. It's get used to making up different type of character archetypes that you may be good at, what's your bread and butter, and just get your acting chops up.
Yeah, I'm looking at the Casting Call Club right now, and it's not just about finding voice actors work, or you can also find work as an actor, as a singer, artist, video editor, and an animator, audio engineer, directors, producers, writers, musicians. Like, you can
get your feet wet.
Find a lot of stuff here, apparently.
You can get your feet wet, and The one thing that I'll also jump into, if that's okay, Jared,
Go ahead.
is furthering your education about just what you're doing as a whole. Now I will say it's good to do your research on who you're, getting taught by.
For sure.
I feel that's just something, that you need, but there are some good groups out there. The reason why I'm not going to, I'm not going to mention a lot of them is because I'm going to miss one. There's a lot of groups. I'm even scared to just list them because I'm going to miss one. But there's Closing Credits. There's Red Scythe. I know Rachel Messer does coaching, and coaching is just a different story. If you're really wanting to get serious in it, one-on-one coaching is there as well. That some people do. I know Cassandra Lee Morris does her stuff. What else? Actors Connection is one. There is, man, I know more. It's just not coming off the top of my head. Skills Hub, that's one. Could be a little bit more expensive, but you are working with a lot of pros that have been in the field triple me. So, there is that. What else is there? I feel bad because I didn't, I'm trying to think. But I know Red Scythe and Closing Credits have very much, affordable prices. So those are two. A Studios, that's another one. A Studios is one that I went to quite a bit while I was growing. What else? If it comes to mind, but I'll say it. But furthering your education in this field is very important. I would not personally. I would learn and then put it into practice. And then when you need to learn more, that's when you invest in more. You don't want to overwhelm yourself. You can get a lot out of some of these classes, and intaking too much information all at once could overwhelm you. So just be careful. Another one. If you're this, they sometimes do some online. Most of it is in person, but if you're in LA, Voice Tracks West is another source of where people do some classes and some workshops. So yeah,
and also for a little bit extra information on these things, like I think I would assume that people starting off looking at these sites will see a lot of these are unpaid or paid very low, or they're just fan projects, whatever.
Yes, thank you.
But if you're starting out, especially if you don't have any acting experience, like I don't think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think you should really be too deterred if you're doing an indie animation voiceover work and not getting paid. I mean, some of the bigger voice actors, like Kira Buckland, has done a lot of indie animation voiceover work, and they could have been paid, could not have been paid, and I'm sure you've run into some things that where
absolutely
you have done work on something, not have gotten paid, just to get your feet wet, just to get experience of how does this work, how does this feel, and it's not like you'll be putting your reputation on the line if it's like an actual big project you somehow managed to book. If this is your first gig and it's for a AAA game and you're way out of your depth, whoa, that's a lot of pressure. But if you have the practice on just doing 102 indie indie original fan made things, then you might feel more comfortable. No?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, I feel like especially when you're remote. Okay, so if there's not a lot of studios around you and remote is kind of like the area where you work in, and you have these websites, it's you do with what you got. You do with what you got. Even if you have a lot of experience as an actor, maybe as a theater actor, and you're getting your feet wet into voice acting. It's a new way of acting. It's a new way of expressing emotions, and you're just trying to get the technicalities right, and you're not, I think that everybody has worth. I want to put that out there right now. Everybody has worth. Like I said before, your voice has worth. Everything you do has worth. And as you get better as an actor, as you get better with voice acting, your worth is going to increase. But that worth, to me, as a person, as an entertainer, was always there. It was just getting yourself out there more and perfecting your craft, what you're good at and what you stand for as an actor, I guess. I don't know. But I feel like everybody has worth. But when you're starting out, for me, in my experience, and maybe some people will disagree with this, but I want to be totally honest. I had to earn my way. Personally, I was not good at the beginning. I stuttered a lot. I did not know how to talk naturally. Be just living in the story, living in the lines, and not knowing all the technicalities. Or there is a period, so I'll stop right here. And then there's a comma, so I'll stop right there. No, that's not how humans talk. And, that's not how humans talk. And I'm not bashing on anybody that starts out like that, because I was there too. So it's just, whenever you're starting out and, let's say you have gotten a little, you've gotten better and you're sounding more natural in your deliveries. And, you're on these sites, you're looking through casting calls on Twitter, you're on Casting Call Club, all that stuff. And you're getting into some of these original projects, you're getting into some, original indie animation stuff, or, just different indie video games. And, these aren't, unfortunately, these people who are working hard, they're not big companies. They're not big,
This could be just
big,
one person.
One person,
with an idea.
They're not big on money or anything. And to me, I'm like, well, listen, I get the GVAA have their rates, and I do agree with them. I think everybody needs. I always forget what is
GVAA.
What does it stand for?
Hold on.
I'm stink at remembering.
It is the Global Voice Acting Academy.
Yes. I don't ever really talk about that a lot, but I know that I remember Amy Smith sent me a link to that. She's a great voice actress. I believe, I could get this wrong, I believe out in the Australia hub.
Right.
Amy Smith is amazing. But yeah, she sent me that, and because I was having trouble with rates, and I saw them, and they have like really set rates that are really good rates to go by. But to me, as a remote voice actor with little to no studios at all around me, especially where I started in Jacksonville, brother, a lot of these devs that I was getting in contact with, and I was trying to, stick with these rates, and I still do, they weren't able to pay. And here I am. I don't, I need experience.
Right.
And you have to weigh out the pros and cons of what you're doing, especially when you're starting out. And I feel people need to be lenient on those individuals who are just starting out, because they need stuff on their resume. They need stuff to get their feet wet. You can't just expect somebody to just be amazing with nothing to show for. Now, if you win a contest or something, like with Bang Zoom or something, that's totally different. That's totally different. That's a totally different route, and I'm not taking away anything from that at all. That's badass. But if your route, like I know a lot of people's are who are remote, is they have to get their feet wet, and they're trying to get better, and they're trying to do some gigs, but they're trying to stick with their worth. You have to find a middle ground. There will come a time when you are, when you've been in this for, a handful of years, maybe even a good amount of years, and you can say those rates, and, you're working with higher end devs who have been in this for a long time, and they can afford those rates. That will come. But at the beginning, you have to be patient with yourself and with this field around you, because, you can't just come in here barging through the door and saying, here I am, I've arrived. This is me. This is me, $250 an hour. Let's go. No, $350 an hour. I am worth that much. I know. My theater, I've been in a lot of theater productions, all that stuff, and I have a lot of experience. It's a different realm.
Yeah.
It's a different realm, and you have to treat it that way. It's no different than, going into a new job. It really is no different than going into a new job, workforce, a new job, and you can have the leadership qualities, you can have amazing qualities, but if you're not willing to earn your stripes and to grind a little bit at the beginning, and you're just expecting for people to pay your rates, listen, maybe it works for some people, but for me, no, it didn't, and for a lot of others, it didn't. So I think that's just the way to go, is to weigh out the pros and cons. If you're coordinating, and that's another thing with remote voice acting that I learned for myself, I'm my own, it's like I'm my own
manager.
Manager. Besides, because I have a talent manager.
Right.
That's amazing. But your own financial manager.
Right.
You're coordinating different rates and prices. It can get very stressful, and you want to stick with what you're worth, but back then, especially, you just had to work with what you got, especially with, the amount of years that you were in it. It's like 1 year. Okay, dude, how am I supposed to take you seriously? I don't know who you are, and, you're great, but, I don't know. It's hard to get into the mind of the devs, but some of them are they might not be able to afford the full rate that you're trying to put out there, and at that point you just have to coordinate and negotiate a price, and hopefully you can get something out of it, but just getting the experience to me is very important.
Yeah,
again, you got to get your feet wet.
So you would say for people trying to grow, the thing that actually moves the needle would be consistency, maybe practice.
Consistency, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Not
because
to cut you off.
No, you're good, because I can attest to consistency for this show. We've only gotten we're in year 6 of this show right now.
Amazing.
And I can tell you for one thing, our first couple of years, they were if we're gonna talk about numbers, they were low. You know what I mean? And
Yep.
And that's fine, because we didn't know what we were doing. I didn't know how to actually produce a good quality product. I was learning as I was going. We were all learning as we were going. So
absolutely,
with the consistency of putting out one episode every week minimum for 6 years, and now we're doing double uploads, sometimes triple uploads a week.
That's work, man.
We've got into a place where we've grown a ton. We've got a bunch of opportunities, got to meet a whole bunch of amazing people like you, but that couldn't have happened without the consistency of making sure that you're still putting the effort, willing to learn for however long you're going. I've been doing this for over half a decade, and I still have a shit ton to learn. You know what I mean? And I want to learn. So it's having that open-mindedness and being willing to continue pushing, even if you're seeing the progress is slow. If you're in it, if you really want to be in it, you have to push through, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
With everything, especially with what we're in, Jared, in the entertainment field, it's very unstable, and it's very judgmental, and it's very, people can be egotistical, and that can weigh you down. A lot of rejection. 80% of the work is rejection, especially on my side.
Right.
You have to get used to that. You have to grow a thick skin, because what you're signing up for when you become an actor is that you will get rejected most of the time. Especially, I was just watching another reel about this. I think it was William H. Macy who was talking about this. And he was saying, man, I went into the studio and I was auditioning for this one role that I was perfect for. I knew I was perfect for it. I went in to self-tape for it, and I did so well. I know I did well. I wasn't cocky about it either, and I didn't get the role. And that happens majority of the time with on camera, on theater, and voice acting. Maybe even more in voice acting, because you're sitting down or standing up in your booth, and you're just rapidly going through auditions. Some people do like 20 a day.
Right.
And imagine, you kick butt. You get some honest feedback from people that you met, that you made friends with along the way in your journey. And they say it's good. They even give you some critiques. They're like, hey, this audition wasn't, there was this take, that this, it didn't sound as great as this take over here, but overall it was amazing. That sort of stuff. And you still don't get these auditions. And it can really play with your mind. It's a mind game. It is definitely a mind game, but you have to be relentless. You have to keep going at it.
Then let me ask you, what's the thing that keeps you going when it feels like nothing you're doing is clicking?
When nothing is clicking, that's a good question. Well, if I can get raw for a minute,
of course.
If I can get raw for a minute.
That's what we're here to do.
Yeah, man. Get some Razzle Dazzle in there.
Yeah.
It's going to dabble into what we talked about in our past interview.
Yes.
But currently, at the time when we did our interview last year,
You mean last week? Wink, time travel.
Wink. I was in the midst of mourning my mother.
Yes.
And, we are about come September or October. It's been, it'll be 2 years now. And, I'm getting used to it, all that stuff. But the motivation that's been pushing me whenever, nothing's clicking, when, I'm just off my game for the day for some reason, I think about her. And I think about one of the biggest reasons I'm doing this right now is to make her proud. And then that dominoes into, it's because I love this, it's because, I love the art and I love, just expressing myself. This is a great way to express emotions that, I wasn't able to express when I was younger because of different limitations. And it's really, it's a gift. And once I start that process in my mind, that helps me out a little bit. And it's funny because it has nothing to do with acting tips or anything like that. No, it's just spiritual or just whatever you want it to be. It can be religious, whatever. It's a motivation. It's a drive in me that keeps me going even through the hard times. It's personal. And, I was talking to one of the people that I'm beginning to work with right now. My whole philosophy within, coaching or anything is, if I were to coach younger voice actors, it is, my style is your acting prowess, your ability comes from a personal place. It comes from within. If you can't gather those emotions and put them out into the world and be vulnerable enough to put them out into the world, it's going to be hard for you. It's going to be difficult for you. Yes, some characters, they don't show a lot of emotion. They're just, hi, crazy, just yelling all the time. And that's what I thought at the beginning. But as you keep going, it's subtle. It can be subtle, it can be crazy, and it can be very quiet all at the same time. And, it's just, I'm trailing off, but it's a lot, when you're in those hard days, whatever gets you through it, whatever motivates you, it can be like mine. It can be a drive to make yourself and a loved one proud. It can be because you love the art. It can be because you just can't live without it. It can be because it can get so simple as like, and I keep screwing up this one line. Now I'm getting vengeful, and I just want to get it done because I don't want to leave this unfinished. Whatever pushes you through to submit on that audition, that's what matters. And you can be going through a hard day, you can be going through you having a great day, but if you can get the work done somehow, and you find that strength within, that will help you last in the field. You got to make it personal.
We've been talking a lot about starting within voice acting. Now, I want to dive into a bit. First of all, thank you for sharing that. Sorry. Mm-hmm. Thank you for sharing that. Now, I want to dive into people who are already in
Yeah.
it, like you know. In your perspective, has remote voice acting made the industry more accessible or just more crowded? Because from an outside perspective, from a different part of the creative industry of having a podcast on the internet, anybody now is able to buy a microphone, get a recording software, has access to the internet, and post something online. That can be said for voice acting too. So therefore, there's a shit ton of white noise.
There is.
Everywhere in the internet. Everybody's trying to make themselves louder and make them like catch the consumer's ear and whatever.
Dude.
We're all trying to make ourselves sound unique for that one person who picks up and likes us.
Yep.
I'm assuming that can still be translated into voice acting, remote voice acting, right?
Absolutely.
So more accessible or just more crowded, in your opinion?
It's a mixture, man. It's a mixture of both. And while I say, it's getting a little overcrowded, that's kind of going against what I believe as a whole, because I don't want to gatekeep this field.
Right.
I don't want to gatekeep this art. I don't want to gatekeep any of this stuff. So I welcome the crowdedness. I welcome the challenge. I welcome people, new folks coming in and becoming better and giving people with a lot of experience a challenge. Because how is this field going to grow more into what it needs to be for other people that want to do something with the arts and they're disabled, or they're not able to leave home, or they're not able to do a lot of things because they're taking care of one of their loved ones. And I don't know. I think I mentioned this before or during the beginning, but there is 9+ billion, 10+ billion people on this earth. There are a lot of situations going on. And I don't know. I don't know what certain people are going through that I don't know who want to be voice actors. But, I welcome the crowdedness.
Right.
It puts more eyes on our field. It puts more eyes on what we're doing. Because, I feel like there are some people that put their heart and soul into this. And they're not renowned for their work. And, while it is getting crowded, I welcome it. And I would say let's make it even more crowded. Let's make the voiceover community even bigger because, I think everybody deserves to have a chance at achieving their dream. I think as ambassadors, we have to encourage, people to, jump in and, get your feet wet. And if you embarrass yourself a little bit, good. You embarrass yourself. You learned. Okay, I'm not going to judge you. I know I embarrassed myself. I embarrassed myself in classes. I embarrassed myself with sending audio to other people, getting advice, make myself look like an idiot. How I talk to others because I don't know how to coordinate through the field when I was just starting out. It was all necessary to get where I am right now, to be able to talk to you, Jared, about this kind of stuff. And I feel that, we just need to encourage people, if they're wanting to do it, to just do it. It'd be wrong for me, again, to say like, it's getting too crowded. It's a lot of, while there is a lot of white noise, that's going to be natural to me, even if there wasn't a lot of people. There is always some white noise in whatever field you're in. That's just my opinion, not disagreeing with you.
Yeah.
I feel, but the accessibility part going on the other side, it is because it's so accessible. That's just a plus. I feel, it's made this field more available to individuals that, again, I've mentioned it now numerous times, that just can't move out, that just can't do certain things. It's giving them a chance to express themselves. It's giving them a chance to react. It's giving them a chance to cry, to laugh, to just feel these different emotions that they want to do, that they see on TV, and maybe you have disabilities to where you can't do on camera. And with that, can't move. to Los Angeles or to even, New York or Texas or wherever a lot of commercial work is that's going on within the year or whatever. But because of the accessibility being available, especially during the 2020 VO boom when COVID happened and a lot of people were at home and they heard about voice acting and they're like, hey, I can maybe do that. I think it's a good thing. I think all of it's a good thing. Because we always need new faces. We always need new blood to come in and to maybe humble us a little bit, to show that there's more people out in the world that have something to offer. It's not just the same old faces over and over, and that includes me as well. So yeah, and I don't say that in a cocky way. It's like anybody can be put in that situation where they are the golden goose for the season. And there's always someone better. There's always someone
or a golden
hungry.
deer.
Golden deer, the golden antlers. Yep. So I feel that's all a good thing. I hope that answered the question.
It does. Yeah, man. What's something you used to believe about making it, air quotes, that you've completely changed your mind on now after being in the industry for a few years?
This one's a little personal. So when, the one thing that, and I mentioned my mom a lot, but she was my first big teacher, of course. And she said before she passed, one of the things that she said was, I just want you to have a happy and fulfilling life with good people around you. And, just enjoy it. And, while I've been on this, this, I don't know what you want to call it, but this campaign of, making her proud and, getting better and doing what I love, there was a part of me that was just like, I need to overcome this and, get recognized and win something or, get, recognized in a huge way or, blah, 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 whatever the heck it was. And at some point, I just was like, I'm not having fun anymore. It's hell. I'm torturing myself, and right now it's just like, I just want to have fun with it. I just want to enjoy it, because what's the point? What's the point in doing all of this if I'm just torturing myself the whole time? So I think my whole, my whole outlook on it when I was coming up was just, getting into anime or, doing certain things. And it all came from a source of acceptance, getting accepted, like getting people's reactions and all that stuff. And it's not something to go off of. It's not something, for the long haul, to wanting to just, get these to feel accepted and to feel like you're one of the folks that, one of the crowd, one of the people that are doing these big things. Yeah, you're going to big places, man. That sort of stuff. It's like, I mean, that's a moment. But what's after that? What, you're just going to make it bigger? You're just going to torture yourself more? That doesn't sound fun to me. And if anything, like, it's just going to make me feel like crap. So I think just, enjoying it, enjoying the ride, enjoying the journey, and enjoying what I'm doing is what I'm trying to make my priority now, rather than these different little objectives that I had in my head. Of just, okay, you booked that. Okay, now it's time to go do this. Now it's time to go do that. It's like, that's not an actor. That's not an actor. That's not an actor that's willing to learn for the rest of his life. That's willing to go for the long haul and, study this field. Not even outside of voice acting. Going to different plays, going to the theater, maybe even getting involved into stage acting again, and maybe doing on camera, diving into that to see if you're, if I'm good with that. One of my the people I look up to the most is Sir Christopher Lee. And one of the things, this one interview that he did back in the early 2000s, and it was so cool. He was talking about, just lasting in this field and having a love for it so much so that you want to just learn, keep learning. I think, I could be wrong on this. I have to study up more on my history with this, but I think he was like in his first 10 years of acting. I don't know if he was with Hammer yet doing Dracula. I'd have to look at that. But, he was in the theater a lot. He was sweeping up the floors. He was in the back. He was actively involved in the theater, acting, and just learning. And, and that shows like when someone's just wanting to learn about it and to be a part of it and just immerse themselves in it, that's a love that you can't explain sometimes. And I feel as an actor, that's the gold ticket for having a life to last in this field. And that's what I want. I don't want just a certain thing. I want that love for it, and I can feel it. It's I'm trying to get my mind off of what my objectives were before, still, if I'm being honest. But just having that love for anybody who's a remote actor, specifically from what we're talking about, that's going to help you also to persevere, because it can get hard being remote. It can get very hard. It can be very daunting. It can be, man, it can make you feel like you're against the world.
Yeah.
Sometimes, because you are, in a way. Maybe I'm kind of being too dramatic, but I look at it like this. At least in the United States, right now I'm in Florida, right?
Yeah.
And there's no immediate studios around me. So I have to make do with what I got, and use all the things that I learned to look up casting calls, or market myself more. I've become a big advocate of that, just marketing yourself more and seeing what hits, seeing what sticks. And for me, there's some studios in Miami who have been very good to me. I love them to death. They have their own hub as well, and I have to abide by that and respect that. I don't want to overstep. They have their dedicated actors, so there's that you feel like you're working against,
right?
The in studio and like the all that stuff, and I'm not trying to attack in studio talent,
right?
Say that, no,
because as a producer or whatever, like you would prefer in studio all the time.
Yeah, absolutely, and I get it. Especially for simul-dubs.
Right, yeah,
I
oh my God, yeah.
I get it. You need it week by week. But it feels like you're going against the world. There's New York that has a lot of good talent. There's Atlanta now that's starting to grow, and some talent. And there's Texas, of course, with Crunchyroll. There's talent there. Los Angeles, goes unsaid.
Yeah.
And then you have, stretching out, you have other talent in like England with incredible actors there. In Australia, they have incredible actors there. The Philippines, they have some actors there. Japan, there's all this talent, and you feel like, especially when you're remote, like in my position, it can be daunting. It can be a lot, and you can get in your head. But I think, and this, you'll hear this from a lot of voice actors, but it stands true. You just really do have to believe in yourself. You have to believe it with a burning passion that you can make something out of yourself. Now, I'm not guaranteeing that you're going to get all these other bookings that so-and-so that maybe you look up to has gotten, or this one colleague over here that that you're friends with, that they've gotten. But you can make something out of yourself. It may not be the same as other people, but you can make something out of yourself. You just have to be willing and open to the hard work and time that it takes to put into this. It's a lot of auditioning. It's a lot of cold calling. My strategies for me starting out, because I wasn't that good, and I just didn't. I was learning how to audition more efficiently. I was like, you know what? I'm going to start reaching out to devs, and a few other of my colleagues were doing the same thing, and I learned from them. If it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be here. So, learning from them, learning how to cold email, cold call, reaching out to devs. I remember when I was at work, I was working a 9 to 5 basically. And I would be doing that. And at the same time on my computer that I was on, I'd be shooting off emails and DMs left and right, showing the type of work that I was doing. And most of them were non-hits. And some of them that were hits, they felt like big victories. And that's what carried me during my, first, second, third, fourth year. And it's just repetition all the time. And yeah, man, there are other logistics, like, you don't need a demo at the beginning. I want to add that in. You don't need a demo. You don't need to commission somebody for a $500, $600, $700 demo right when you start. No, you can have different, record different samples of you doing, for 10 to 15 seconds, a hyper teenager or whatever you're good at. You know what I mean? Like a villain that you like, a growly villain, very, very monstrous being, whatever the heck it is. You have different samples and put them in a Google Drive folder and then share that around. You don't have to have just a high-end demo, especially when you're not, when you haven't really zoned in on what you're good at and you want to perfect those and show those out into the world. You want to do that first before you put anything out that's professionally made, like from another. Not saying that you're not a professional, but from another, individual that's been doing this for a while. And also, I wanted to add this in with the auditions. See, there was some individuals that taught me early on that a necessary evil, and I don't like it. I've never liked it. Is at some point, if you're doing this full time and you're getting really serious about it and you want to give yourself even more opportunities, there are pay to play sites. There are voices.com. There is backstage.com. There is voices123. Some of the sites have gone into the AI stuff. I disagree with that. It's like, I don't like the AI crap. No, but whatever you're comfortable with. I recommend Backstage personally. There's a lot of on-screen opportunities, and then there's voiceover opportunities.
When you say pay to win, what do you mean?
Pay to play. Pay to play.
Oh, you pay this website to be in that thing.
Yeah, to audition.
To audition.
Yeah, to audition. Pay to play sites is where you can find different auditions. God. And yeah, man, I mean, you'll find some big stuff on there.
But will you still get paid for the role or no?
Nope. Well, if you book it and if you do it, yes. But you're paying for the opportunities. You're paying for the opportunities to be on the site, to get a profile. I feel like you can still make a profile, especially on Voices. But the thing is, you're not going to be given, if you get the membership, you're not going to be given all of the stuff that comes in.
Yeah.
That sort of stuff. So, I don't like it. It's hard. It's hard, man. And there's other stuff. There's other stuff that I feel that I can talk about, but there are just some things that I think voice actors need to go through to learn on their own. And they'll be the judge. Like, this is bullshit, or this is amazing, or I don't agree with that one bit. That's terrible. I think people deserve to have their own, way of thinking and their own opinion. So, I can stay here and talk about all the little things that, but yeah.
What's something about this industry that you think people misunderstand until they're in it?
Man, that's a good question. People don't understand, but when they do it, they understand it. I'm going to be real. I think some people don't understand the amount of actual auditioning people do before they actually get the role or get a role that's perfect for them. Man, there's a lot to that. The emotional baggage that people carry in this field, it's staggering. I'm just listing them off. There's that. Yeah. How this one's broad. How important entertainment is in our world, and how valuable it is to our health in a way. I mean, it's like I've had the insecurity when I was just starting, and I get reminded of it sometimes. A lot of people don't understand what I do. That's just the bottom line. I mean, if I go to a reunion, I didn't go to my high school reunion, but if I did, and they don't know what I do because they're not on Instagram, they're going to be like, Josh, I haven't seen you in a while. What the hell do you do? What's going on, bro? I'm going to be like, well, I'm a voice actor. And they'll say, cool. What does that entail? And then you have to tell them, the logistics. Oh, I work out of my closet. I yell. And I get told what to do. It's like, man, that sounds just like a 9 to 5. But I'm like, it can be a lot more stressful sometimes or easier. And I work from home. And they're like, well, that's just the life, isn't it? That's just the life. Man, I wish I was doing what you're doing. Teach me how to be a voice actor. And it's like, oh, shit. That's hard. It's hard to talk about sometimes when you're outside of the window of being in the entertainment industry because, but once you're in it, let's say one of those people I was talking at the reunion actually dive in it and they get it now. They're like, man, bro, that's hard to talk about. Like, I can talk about it with other voice actors. I can talk about it with my wife, but dude, a lot of people don't understand it. And they think that I'm like, we can even go even further with this, Jared. It's like, they think that I'm a clown. They think that I'm not doing anything seriously. And I would tell them, you are doing something seriously. You're getting their mind off of the troubles that this life is throwing at us right now.
Think of your favorite show, of your favorite game, of your favorite movie that is your comfort zone, right? If it has voice acting, which nowadays most do, that helps take away the burden of everyday life, even for just a little bit, even for that 20-minute increment, even for that 1.5 hour, whatever, the full game, whatever. It helps you relax or helps you forget.
Hey, man.
People are doing that.
Yeah.
Somebody's performance is making you feel that way.
Yes, and it could save you from suicide. As deep as that sounds, I know it helped me. I know it helped me when I was younger. I know Metal Gear Solid and Star Fox helped me out when I was going through a hard time when I was a little kid, and I had a lot of mental health issues. Yeah, that helped me out a lot. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for probably those games and some others. But
and to put that in perspective, we're talking about Star Fox. Dual barrel roll. That's what we're talking about. It sounds silly on paper. It sounds silly to someone outside of this, someone who doesn't understand. It sounds. You're telling me a rabbit yelling to do a barrel roll and then a frog asking you to save him every 10 minutes is what saves your life? Yes.
This is what we do. And also, I'll add on to that. I'll add on to it. When you are looking and watching your favorite movies, your shows, you all I don't want to attack people, but like what people outside of the industry probably forget. I think people are become more mindful, of course, with social media and reels and showing the process of acting. So I think people are definitely more,
people are more aware about voice acting for sure.
Voice acting and just acting in general.
Yeah.
So, this could be something actually that people know now. But I know in the past, at least. Just the art of getting into that headspace, dude. Getting into the headspace of an emotional scene and acting that out and then decompressing afterwards.
Right.
I know, some people, they probably don't understand that, and they're not supposed to. It's a hard thing. Why would I want you to feel sad all the time, right? But it's like, for example, Matthew McConaughey getting into the headspace that he needed to, or Interstellar at the end. It's a famous GIF now. It's a famous meme, but that is art. That's art. That is him getting emotional off of something that he was. I forgot what it was. Maybe it was. I think it was his daughter. Something his daughter was doing, and he was watching it, and he got emotional over it. And that in itself is art. And then he probably had to decompress afterwards. That's hard. You have to get yourself out of that mind space. I mean, I'm not trying to downplay or dog on the next person I'm going to reference, but Heath Ledger, like he went far. It's actually, like, in a way I for an actor to look at, because it's like he went that far with his character acting. Thing to remember though is to, I don't know, gosh, you have to always decompress. And he lived in that character, and I don't know, like, I forgot the logistics of it, but you always want to separate yourself from the character, because you're not that person. You are so and so. You are you, and you are not this person. You don't do these certain things, that maybe be unhealthy and all that kind of stuff, but you have to decompress, and that in itself is hard to do. And I feel like, once you get into this field, you learn that, and it can be hard to grasp at times.
For sure. With a lot of the voice actors we've had here on the show, they have shared stories of certain characters going to certain places that they themselves have to think of something that's happened to their own lives, and also talk about that time to decompress after. Like, it's a common thing,
Yep. It's hard. It's hard. It doesn't get talked about enough.
Yeah. It's an incredible thing that actors such as yourselves, such as you, excuse me, that you have to kind of rewire your brain into learning how you're not just studying how to say a line a certain way. You're studying how to make yourself believe and feel that emotion.
Yes.
Because without it, it's not a good take.
Yep. You have to be the character, and sometimes that can be painful, because it's what entails with the character. What is their situation? What is their why? Where are they at? Who are they talking to? All those things that you learn as an actor as you go along. And it can be very daunting. It can be very overwhelming. And a line that you thought that you were yelling in, it is said with the quietest tempo, or the quietest, delivery.
Yeah.
But it is so intense.
Yeah.
It is louder than a yell. But it is so intense that a whisper only needs to happen. That's going deeper. And then, you have that, and then you have the underlying, objective of that line, what the character was really saying, if you're wanting to get really deep into it, if that's there, there's a lot to it, man.
Yep.
There's a lot to it that you can make complex for yourself, and in a good way, and it can make your performances just pop even more. But, we'd be here all day talking about that.
Then, to bring this in for a landing, fast forward a few years from now, what does You Made It look like to you now?
Man, it's funny. I've been, for me personally, that's a good question. I've been struggling with that for a good amount of time now. I don't know. I could see myself where I'm at, being here for the next few years. And then after that, dude, I know that I will, just from logistics standpoint, and I would have to move somewhere. I don't know where I'm going to go, but I would hope that I impacted, my first stint as a voiceover artist, the first 10 years, that I did something that I impacted in a very memorable way, a positive way, and gave people hope, gave people, showed them a way, and gave them, it just gave them hope. As dramatic as that sounds, I feel like that's a good goal, because I could get so and so, I can get a gig, I can get a few gigs, I can get some great gigs, right? But if I'm not actively being an ambassador and trying to make a difference, what's the point of all those gigs, right? Besides like growing my name and all that stuff. I mean, everybody does that. But to go deeper, I feel it's, showing people that there is a way to do it where they're at, especially when they're not able to move, when they're not able to do a lot of the things that they see individuals online that they may follow do. They just want a chance. They just want a chance to express themselves, to do what they love. And I feel, coming from a guy who started, with his friend and stumbled over every line, didn't know where he was going. And now I'm here 8 years later, basically, and I'm still doing it and just practicing it every day, basically. I mean, you just can't give up on yourself. And, I just hope that if people ever, take whatever I have to say as, just don't, you can do it. There is a way. There is a way. If you want proof, I can be that proof. And there's others. There's other remote actors too. There's other remote actors that you can follow. I know there's,
Rue?
Shakira. Yeah, Rue Ryder. There's Bay Doxy. There is Trina Duhart. There is. I know I'm going to forget. Yeah, I know I'm going to forget some people. Gilvier. I always forget his name. Jeriel Acevedo. Sorry, Jeriel. There's others too. I mentioned Shakira already. There's just a good amount of remote voice actors that are trying to make a difference, and I feel it's a good cause to work towards and to just give new people that are coming in hope. Making it more crowded in here. To say like, hey, yeah, you have a chance too. Just work at it. It's gonna be hard, but we think you can do it. So,
giving people hope, whether you're a cat, a deer, or even a shark with legs, with feet.
Yeah,
that is your mission, and I love that.
Heck yeah, man. Heck yeah. I think it's worth fighting for.
Josh, thank you so much for coming back on the show to talk about, the ins and outs of remote voice acting. I think this is really cool. I think, I'm glad that we were able to give you, to provide a spot to talk about this, a platform to talk about this. I know it gets talked about all the time and everywhere, but I think this conversation has been very educational, and hell, it's taught me a lot of new things. So I'm forever grateful. So thank you again, Josh.
No problem. And I'd like to throw it out there, just some last minute kind of like some last minute things.
Yeah, final thoughts.
What'll make it easier for you to start? Ethernet connection with the computer. I'm serious. That is going to be that's going to help. Good monitors, 1 to 2. I would prefer 2 small ones, because then you got the script and then you got maybe the video of the director directing you. So 2 moderate, monitors to work off of. 1 is fine too. What else? Good ventilation.
That's real.
With your booth. This is something I have learned. So some studios I work with remotely that I've earned my way into, they don't hear a lot of boxy sounds in my booth.
Mm-hmm.
And one of course is because of the mic I have. I have a Neumann TLM 102. I have an Audient ID14 interface. But what helps is because my closet that I'm in, the width is bigger. And I have some ventilations on the side over here that you can't see. Mm-hmm. And one of the directors last year, he was saying like, your setup sounds really good. What did you do? And I'm like, well, I have a good blanket, a good heavy blanket behind me that I make sure that I don't hit. It looks like I'm hitting it, but I'm not hitting it really. I have good ventilation or like styrofoam and all that on the sides. I have bed padding.
Oh my god, bed padding is so good for sound treatment. Squishmallows are amazing too, by the way.
I have all that stuff in front of me behind my monitor.
Yeah.
So that absorbs the yelling. I have I hooked up blankets on top of me, so above me, so that's ventilated. But what makes the difference is the width. So it's not like compacted in a small space. Because my director was like, yeah, I worked with some people that have sound like that have like studio bricks and all that, and while they sound good, like there for some reason there's just this boxy sound, and we work on it, and they put some more padding some places, and then it fixes it. But for yours, it sounds great. And I was like, I think it's the width. And
yeah, as an audio engineer who works in a professional studio, I can tell you that, like, obviously, if you know basic science about sound and how that works, we're producing sound waves. They travel through the air. If we have all this padding that is surrounding us in a tight space, it's not going to be moving all that much. Will it sound like, clean? Yes, but also it's taking away some parts of your voice, kind of, depending, of course. You literally need to give yourself room to breathe while still having the insulation, if that makes sense. And
yes, and
carpet.
Yeah, so carpet. Yes. Oh my god. Yeah, carpet.
So helpful.
Yes, if you have wooden, you have to buy yourself some carpets.
Go to Five Below. That's what I did.
Yep.
I went to Five Below, and I have 2 carpets throughout this entire room.
Boom. And if you have more money, and if you have the room, you can experiment. I'm not going to tell you not to. You can get a carpet that you can from carpet stores or whatever. I know that's a lot. But however you can get that good sound base at floor level, that will help so much. Now, regarding learning about how to work, a DAW, how to work,
digital audio workspace.
Yes. I'm going to be honest. I'm not an expert in that. Tim Tippett's has a lot of good education on that. I think he does some courses on it.
And examples of DAWs is like Audition, Audacity, Pro Tools, Reaper.
Yep. What you record on, basically. There's that. There are different courses on that. Tim Tippett's is a good source. Tim Tippett's. I hope I'm saying his name right. But there are other sources as well. Again, do your research on the sources. But I wish I had the information. I've just always been bad at remembering all of it.
Yeah.
But educating yourself on how your DAW works and seeing what works for you, that's important. And then also reading up on the mic and the interfaces themselves, because believe it or not, there are certain mics that your voice may not do well with. The 103, for example, the Neumann TLM 103, would be bad for my voice. I read up on it, just the certain quality of my voice. It didn't dwell well with it, but with the TLM 102, it does. And know that, for example, some mics, I don't think I could be wrong on this, but I don't know if they work well with certain interfaces. I don't know. That one, don't take my word for it. Because I tried to hook up my AT2020 with my Audient ID14 one time, and it didn't work well. So I don't know. That one is I wouldn't really go off of me on that one. But just getting educated with the mics, with the interface, with your DAW, having Ethernet, and being willing to learn how to schedule yourself as easy as that sounds. That can get very hectic because of time zones.
Yeah.
Know that your clients, when you're remote, there are going to be time zones, and most likely you're going to be working with clients overseas. You're going to want to get used to that people are in different time zones, and it could mess with your schedule a little bit. There's a lot of other things I can say, but the one thing is one of the biggest tips, and it's kind of a joke, but it's not. You got to learn how to turn it off. You got to learn how to turn off your phone or put your phone down and relax, especially if you're a full-timer. People who are full-timers probably, I don't need to preach to them. They know this. But it can get almost obsessive because you're just on a whole day. That can get very tiring. Like not even maybe physically, but especially mentally. And in this field, you need that mental health at a good point so you can express, so that you can emote, so that you can just act, because if you're mad or tired, how are you going to efficiently express? And I'm not saying you got to be perfect, but if you are I'm talking like, dog, I am fucking tired. Oh my gosh, I can't. And I still have to record 15 chapters. It's like, at that point, I'm going to be tough as a coach and say, well, those chapters aren't going to do themselves, but if you can tell your client that you need a bit more time, I would advise that, because if you're not emotionally well, or, I'm not going to push the person to actually just like, hey, get this done. I don't care how you feel. But I would be firm with them and say, evaluate the situation, see what you can do, and I'm hoping that you can get an extension. And I feel like with a lot of full-timers, a lot of people who have dived into this, just balancing everything. Remote voice acting is a balancing act. It is.
Yeah.
It is a big balancing act because you want enough clients to sustain you. If one or two clients fall off, you have these other two clients that are there helping you. If, you want that. You want that sustainability, because this field as a whole is not a guarantee. This field as a whole is very unstable, and you want to make at least a little bit of stableness for yourself, right?
For sure.
So, it's a balancing act, and again, getting better with scheduling helps out with that, and seeing what you can take on, seeing what you can't. But yeah, when it comes to stuff like, I hope that you can reschedule this thing so you can rest. That's what I would advise. It's like evaluate and see what you can do, and if there's no choice, take breaks. Breaks are your best friend. It is something that I'm not the best at all, but breaks are your best friend. Do what you got to do, that sort of thing. So just some quick tips.
Love it. Again, Josh, thank you so much for helping us get into the mind of a remote voice actor. Moist actor, that's what I said. Oh my god.
Heck yeah.
Be okay with retaking a lot of your lines. Oh my god. Thank you so much for helping us get into the headspace and learning about the life of a remote voice actor, Josh. Thank you so much.
No problem.
All right, that's all the time we have for today, guys. Thank you so much for joining us on another episode of the Razzle Dazzle Show. Be sure to let us know what you think about this episode somewhere on the internet. Follow us on our socials and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Be sure to rate us 5 stars and leave a comment down below. We'll catch you on the next one.
Next time on the Razzle Dazzle Show.
So, I feel like sometimes media composers don't always get to write what they want to write. The only way you do that is by writing something just for you, in an orchestral sense, a symphony or whatever it happens to be. If you're a pop writer, you write a pop song, whatever. You do that the way you want it to be. You want to write a pop song out of farts, you can do that because no one gives a shit except you, right? So I feel like, that's the way it is. But when you're somebody that gets hired by somebody else to do something, you generally have to do what they want.
Tune in next week